Welcome to Dream Engine Nomad Cities. So this is an automation city builder defense game, and unlike lots of city builder and automation game which are more chill and like you're not really limited by anything and you can like just advance in your pace, this game has a little bit more focus on the time limit and space management. So time and space management are the key for this game, but you don't need to worry about it because there are a lot of so when you start a new game there are a lot of tries, but there are a lot of options that allows you to advance at your own pace. So like when you're first running, you can even like remove the time limit completely and only the space management is going to be your problem, and you can advance at your own pace. So when you start a new game, there are different tribes. In the beginning, only the junglers are available. They have some not great bonuses, and each race has different bonuses, and some of the races have like something really special, like Tesla tribe has the unique resource duplication. Like it really makes this race unique. Like and every race is like kind of interesting, except for I think like there's like a couple of races I feel like they're like underpowered, but yeah, they're pretty interesting. We're gonna be playing with Remnant Seeker, which has expedition speed. It's a race that is specialized in expedition. We'll explain this. We're gonna quickly explain this before going into the real run. Actually, we already did the real run, and we are recording this after advancing the real run for a while because I think I realized that I need to explain this beforehand because during the run I really don't have to, and I really don't have time to be explaining it because it is a pretty difficult game. So we are currently at like cycle 708 for our real run, and we'll explain this real quick. So Remnant Seeker, and there are a lot of difficulty options, but we're gonna explain this after we explain the game itself. So we will start. Actually, we're gonna start with the Overseer enabled. This is normally it is enabled on any option that is not Dream Plague. The Dream Plague is the hardest difficulty option that gives 2000 score multiplier. Right before that is hard, it's only 350, and you can see that's a drastic amount of change. And the difficulty itself is actually drastically harder in Dream Plague compared to hard. It's like really hard compared to hard, and we'll explain why. And like in the beginning, you can start in any of those beginner difficulty, even like relaxed. The score difficulty is low, but I think I first started in economic challenge. It was still easy enough. I think challenging is like the intended game difficulty, so you can start with this one if you want. If you're confident in this type of game, it is rather forgiving. So we're gonna just explain in Dream Plague with the Overseer tool enabled, because we will explain what Overseer tool does, and you can name your city and start. All right. It loads. It gives a bunch of tips. I think you can press AD to cycle through tips and you can read them if you want. But we're gonna just continue. So the most particular part about this game is that you have this platform here. This is the area you can build. You can actually build anywhere. You can build inside the platform. You can also build outside the platform. The house cannot be built outside, but the other buildings like this one, Stoneworker, you can also build outside the platform. And it's just that the power range is low, but you can extend the power range by using the Tesla tower, and then you can build pretty much anywhere, like this. And the thing is that if you build the building inside the thing, it goes with you when you take off. So the thing is that you can take off to move on to a different part, and you bring all the buildings with you, and that's how you keep your progress. Because if you don't bring the building with you, then you gotta rebuild them. You get a certain amount of resource back when you destroy it, but you still lose like 50% of the resource. So if you have to rebuild those buildings every single time, then you're not really making any progress. That's why you wanna build inside this area most of the time. And that is the space management part of this game. About the time management part, we have the threat level, and we have two different things. We have global infestation level and the threat level. The global infestation level increases over time during the game, and that is the ultimate time limit of the game because it increases. Right now it is 1. I think it increases to 2 when it increases to 2 skull. we have to go to like the two skull map. We actually I'll show it. I'll show it when this one goes out. So I'm gonna explain the threat level first. So the threat level is increases over the cycle. How agitated the dream plagues are. It will increase as long as your city is landed, and will reset once you take off according to the new map difficulty level. So this threat level actually resets, unlike the global difficulty level that doesn't reset. And this threat level determines how strong the waves are gonna be. So if you stay in an area for a long time, then the threat level gets too high and the waves becomes unmanageable, and you have to take off because it becomes too strong. But they can be solved by just taking off after some time, and the threat level resets. But it doesn't reset always reset to 0. Right now we're at 0. The level 1 skull difficulty map starts at threat level 0. The 2 skull map starts at difficulty 5. 3 skull starts at difficulty 10, etc, etc. So the global infestation skull level, this one, increases over time, and over time you are forced to go to a higher difficulty map, and that makes your threat levels to be higher overall from the start. So that is the ultimate time limit of the game. So if you don't develop fast enough, then you're not gonna be able to catch up to like the enemies, the incoming enemies, because you're not gonna have enough defenses built. You're gonna have more buildings destroyed on each wave than you can build and collect resources, and then you're gonna just slowly die. So that's the time limit, and that's also the scary part of about the game, because you constantly kind of feel like you're being chased by an invisible time limit, you know. But as I explained, with all the difficulty settings earlier, you can change that to like even remove the time limit so you can chill if you want. But if you want the challenge, this game is actually excellent because you can challenge yourself by making a better base, and it's not like one-sided of challenge like action games or something where you just learn the enemy mechanic or something. This is, you have to really optimize your base building, your strategy, your income, and everything. So this is a really interesting game if you are into that kind of stuff. So we are gonna be taking off soon, so we'll explain the taking off window real quick. It is happening anytime now. So we'll see that this one flies up with us, this one doesn't. And we'll also show you that, for example, this building here costs 13 wood to build, but when you destroy it, you only get less wood back. So I don't know how much we got back. We can actually set here the resources you want to keep track of. So we got 53, so we only got 7 wood back from destroying it. So we got 50%, 60%, maybe 60%, 50, 60, 60, more like 60, yeah. So this one remains while this one flies up, and then when we go to the difficulty map, you get 6 choices, and some of them are 1 difficulty higher, while the rest are the same difficulty with always 1 map with 1 difficulty lower than yours. So currently we are at 1 and we don't have any 0 difficulty map, so we don't have any 0 difficulty map, but usually you get, for example, if your global infestation level is 2 skull, then you get 1 map with 1 skull level, the rest with randomly between 2 and 3. And normally you don't want to go to a higher difficulty map, because for example, if you press on the 2 skull map here, it says you've chosen a land at a location of higher difficulty than the current level of the infestation level. This will immediately increase the infestation level. You don't want that to happen. Like unless you're like really you have like completely removed the time limit, or you have it set to like super lenient, you don't want this to happen. You want to stay in the lower difficulty level as long as possible to not decrease your time limit. That is already pretty short if you have set a high difficulty level. So on this menu you can see, so you can reroll. This race gives a free reroll, but other races don't, and for the other races it costs fuel to reroll. This is the fuel. It costed some fuel to take off, or I think it costed 4 fuel to take off here, and it increases over time if you develop your city. And so this is the resource, and then you can see various places with various characteristics, attributes, let's say. let's see, for example, in the beginning you have a choice between desert map and Blackland map. And you can see here the characteristic of desert. Potato farm production speed minus, stone worker production speed plus 5. So this is a great map for gathering stones. And Blightland, you can see it is star stock tower production speed plus 50 and stone production speed minus 20. And this is not great for gathering stone, but it is amazing for getting the star stock tower, and we'll show you afterwards. And then you have multiple attributes, and the important thing to notice are the ruins. You have 3 types of ruin: industrial ruin, tech ruins, and chemical ruins. Industrial ruins gives you recipes. Tech ruin and chemical ruins, they give like a bunch of different random stuff, but they give an item called the linker from 2 skulls onward, which allows you to decrease the difficulty level by 1. And it doesn't give always, and it also costs a lot of materials to craft it. But after 2 skull, you want to you want those ruins to be on your destination so that you can get those items. And the fuel cache ruin, this is the ruin that allows you to buy fuel. You can usually buy fuel also in the tech ruins, and you can also dismantle the industrial ruin to get the fuel. So those are how you get those fuel to take up in the early game. And then there are a bunch of different attributes you get. Like for example, this one has star stock tower production speed minus 40, upgrade material production plus 50. But well, like something like this is great. Like build cost minus 20. And something like some modifiers related to enemies, well, rate enemy number minus 25, and there's also obviously the other version like rate enemy number plus 25. And okay, so for example, to show, we're gonna go here. Normally you want this map. Actually, no, you don't really want this map because normally in the beginning you do want to go to Blightland, but the reason why Blightland is generally better than the other one is because the star stock tower is a lot more annoying and important early game than the Featherstones. So we'll explain. So you can click here to view a bunch of resources. So I'll show you the resources that we use in the early game. You have like it's an exclusive list of like all the resources we have throughout the game. So it might look overwhelming, but in the beginning we only use those ones. Alright, so I'll explain those. As basic materials, you have flux, power, workers, and food. Those are the 4 basic material. The flux is needed to build your buildings. For example, you can build a farm, and a farm uses flux minus 4 per cycle. The cycle is here, and it uses 4 flux per cycle per farm, and it uses 1 worker. You can see the workers here. The amount of worker can be increased by building houses. You can have the food go out from your main base, that is the city core, and it goes into the house, and it increases from 10 to 15. So if you build, for example, I cannot build more, but if you build 3, that would be like 25, for example. So that is, and then the house consumes 1 food and 1 electricity. Food and electricity. The 3 basic resources: food, electricity, and flux, and I guess worker. But yeah, worker consumes this food, and so whenever you build the houses, you need to make sure that you have enough food for it. But like in the early game, it's fine because you don't need that much. But after a while, you need to build the food plant. This is the food plant. You can build it, and it consumes electricity, flux, and workers. Always, all the stuff consumes those 3. Like not always, but like consumes like one of those 3, and you can connect this potato farm here, and it goes here and it starts crafting. For example, it shows how many it crafts. It can use 18 potato per cycle maximum, while potato farm only crafts 3. So you can tell that from this that you need to build 6 potato farms per food plant if you want to make use of it to the maximum. But one food plant crafts 12 food. And 1 house only consumes 1 food. So if you get 1 food plant with this to work fully, you can build 12 houses and get 60 workers as a result, as you see. And yeah, so that's how the food works. Okay, the second one is the flux. I think I cannot use the flux, but okay, let's see the electricity first. We'll go to a different save, because we cannot really show here. Let's see which save would be good for showing here. I think we'll go here. Okay, this is like a save that I kind of gave up on playing in the beginning, in the early game for some reason. So this is the house. We have 4 houses, and though the other building we didn't have it yet because it unlocks like at, I think the flux fat unlocks at 30 population or 20 population probably, and the electricity unlocks probably at 20 as well. I don't know. So electricity, for example, is this building. You can build it by using flux and crushed featherstone, which is a material, and it generates electricity, and it uses flux and manpower. Like all other building, everything uses those electricity, flux, and worker. The same goes for the flux vat. It produces flux, but it costs power and worker. So this is why, for example, having one of this factory costs 2. Okay, so I'll explain the production. So the production goes with this. So you can, there are like the resource node around there. Normally it looks like this, and you can click on it and build the gatherer, and then you connect the road to build it over there. And it produces 8.4 bloodwood logs per cycle for 2 workers, 3 fluxes, and 2 electricity. And with the belt doesn't cost anything. It can convey, and I have this set to convey to the city core, then come back out here. So that I do this because then if I have an excess amount of production, then it can stay inside the city core, and then I can use them again after when the resources run out. And they come back out, and I have this one go inside here and come back out here, and the output go back into the city core and stored here as the bloodwood plank. So this one, you can see the recipe, bloodwood planks. Normally you can get other recipes. You can unlock the other recipes through researches, and you can change the recipes by clicking here if you have unlocked other recipes. But for now, we're producing 3 bloodwood planks with 3 bloodwood logs per cycle. So it is a one-to-one exchange, and they produce 3 per cycle in short. So we have 14 of them, 4 of them, which craft 12 total. And you can see that it's working because we have 2 of this. One of this only crafted like 7.8, but so 1 is not enough to supply our 4. When having 2 of them is enough to supply, and you can see here that it is in the plus 4.8, which means that we are having an excess amount, and this is what we want to have. Like you don't want, like you want to have your factories be producing all the stuff. So that's how you get those materials. So the blood, and when you sew this, the raw material you get in the beginning are the bloodwood logs, raw featherstone, and crystal. But the crystal, this map doesn't have any crystal. The crystal comes from the desert map sometimes, and we are making those 2. And the stone, the same. We have the stones coming here, and they're coming out here and coming back here with the product. And this building is making the crushed featherstone. It is 1-to-1 exchange, and I think it's only making 2.5 because the raw featherstone production. No, I think that doesn't matter. Okay, never mind. Anyway, we are producing those raw featherstone. That's why we have those 12 production here, 5 production here with those 6 machines set up. And as you can see, since they all cost the flux and power, they become like this one. So you have produced 67, 9, and consumed 30, and power produced, consumed. And usually you want to be positive. It's really important to be positive in food, positive in power, and positive in flux. And flux especially, since you need flux to build all kind of building. For example, this one you need 78 building. Like every building cost flux, pretty much. Almost every building, not all, but almost every building costs flux. And it's important to have a good fair amount of like bonus plus flux. Personally, I like to have like at least plus 50 to 100 in the early game for the flux, and in mid to late game I wanna have like multiple hundreds depending on like where I am. That's why you wanna build all those buildings. And I wanna change the recipe, but okay. So then let's explain. So that's for the raw resources. And then there's a different type of resources, which is renewable resource. this is the tar extractor. This is the very first renewable resource you get. You can build it with some bloodwood plank and crushed featherstone, and it outputs 12 starstock tar per cycle. And as you said, the map had a modifier that gives 50% more starstock tar. That's why it gives 12. Normally it gives 8, but it gives 12 because it has 50% more. And you can use those resources for like researching, for example. So let's see. You can build a research facility. Research facility uses 6 starstock tar, electricity, and flux to produce knowledge. So if you put the one here, since this one craft 12, you can decrease the number of population to meet the demand. So it produces 8, it produces 6 now, and we can use one less population. And then it crafts the research, and you have to set the research. So you have a lot of researches. The workshop is important. We are gonna explain the workshop after, so we are gonna research this one, and we're gonna research the tar power because we wanna explain the research, the recipe as well. And you have a lot of researches you can get. A lot of things are unlocking new buildings. For example, this one unlocks a new building. This one unlocks an ability to craft flux, bloodwood plank, and featherstone from those blood thingy. They are the item drop from the mobs. When you kill the mobs, you get some drop. Like I'll show you. So, for example, if you go here, there are mobs. Or those stuffs as well. Like if you get killed, you get those stuff. And where the mobs. So those ones as well. When you kill them, you get those stuff. The two kind of thing. They both drop, and you can use those to craft those items once you research them. This is the function. So. And some of the researches give a permanent bonus, like the bloodwood efficiency. It gives a resource amount plus 10%. Free expansion, it gives city expansion. So city expansion is a way to increase our space management here. And you can obtain some free ones from the research and such, but normally you have to pay resources for it, and it's pretty expensive. That's why the space management is important, because if you don't manage your space properly, then you have to build a lot more city expansion than you need otherwise, which comes back to be super expensive and slower progress overall. Yeah. So right now we are producing 6.4 research points, and it is getting researched here. I'll show the workshop. So workshop, once this is done, okay, so workshop is here. You can build here, and it can have multiple recipes, but in the beginning we only have one recipe, which is this one. You can unlock the other recipes by researching. I think the next recipe is over here, the carbon parts and blueberry parts, but they're like all the way there. And for now we can only use bloodwood, and you can put the bloodwood to go out from the city core, and it takes 2 workers, 4 flux, and craft 2 and uses 2 of this. I think let me decrease the number of people here. So okay, so now it should be working properly. So 1 bloodwood per cycle to craft 2 research upgrade materials. The upgrade materials can be used to build some stuff, but mostly for infrastructure upgrade. And this is the infrastructure menu. And the offense tree gives the damage for your character, and you have the access to those upgrades on the bottom when you get level 1, level 4, and level 7. And for the offense tree, it gives you melee damage, range damage, and loot from the enemies. The defense tree gives you health and defensive building health, and upgrading those one gives you turret damage, movement speed, repair, healing. Honestly, movement speed and repair healing is not that important. The turret damage is the important one, though. It's crucial in the end game. I mean, like, it depends on the strategy, but it can be crucial in the end game. Offense is, in my opinion, not that important, because it's the tower damage that is more important than the character damage. The character damage becomes like kinda irrelevant in the end. And the gathering, it gives you refining and harvesting speed, per level, which is actually really strong, because if you get all 10 level, it's 50% faster harvesting and 50% faster refining, which means that you get 50% more resources overall to build pretty much everything, and that is super strong. And also their bonuses are farming production speed, renewable production speed, and cart speed bonus. Renewable means this one, the tar extractor. We don't have we have the farm here. We have the potato farm here, that can be used to craft food. So those bonuses are both pretty good, but like in the early game, it's more important to get the gathering level up. And the administration tree gives flux production and power production speed. And you gotta focus on the word speed, because it is speed means that if you're using a recipe, for example, if you're on a recipe, I'll explain this later once this tar power is done. So so it's a speed, and this one has upgrade material produce the resource plus, research produce resource plus, and worker capacity. Honestly, the research and the upgrade material aren't that great. I mean, research is good because faster research is great, but you can just like have one more research facility and then it'll just double your overall thing instead of spending a point here. In the early game, the points are important, so that's why. But here, for example, the house capacity, if you get one level here, it gives 15 more workers instead of we have 30 right here. Actually, normally by the time you get this upgrade, you probably have around 60 workers, not even 60, but maybe 30, 40 to 50 probably. And if you get 15 more workers, that's a huge upgrade. And the greatest part about that is that the house uses food, but this upgrade doesn't use food. The people coming from this upgrade doesn't use food. So this is the wave. We'll explain the wave after, but can I pause this game? I think Overseer mode has a method to post this. No, I don't think I have Overseer enabled here. Okay, so so this one doesn't use food, which means that we don't need the food facility, and the food facility consumes people and also flux. So the 15 people, like consuming flux means that you need to build more flux pads, which means that it consumes even more workers and even more power. And that means that we gotta build more power generator, you gotta build more workers, and it's like a circle. And like 15 is actually way more than 15 because of that. Because if you wanna get the people in the normal way, you need to produce more food, which needs to produce more flux, which needs to produce more electricity and everything. You see, so that is a huge bonus. That's why in the beginning it's important to get the administration tree. The second one is 25 worker. Okay, let me explain the wave first. So the wave happens after certain interval. I think it's a random between some values, because I don't think it's completely fixed. In the beginning, the first wave is pretty weak, so you can just defend with your machine only. So, oh, they're split. It's the worst when they split like this. And also, there are random enemies that are attacking. You sometimes have those random enemies attacking the base. That's why you need to have the towers in like some parts of your base defend. There's no more? Okay. So yeah, this wave currently is a threat for wave, but it becomes stronger when the threat level increases. They can get like a bigger enemies, or their number simply increases depending on the threat level. So for example, in the early on, you can just defend without any tower at all, but later on you're gonna have to like heavily rely on the tower. Okay, so we were explaining the house. So the house upgrade is really good. And the house 2 is also worth it, even though we have to put 3 more points in the administration. We have to put 4 points total to get this house 2 upgrade, but it's still worth it. The house 3, on the other hand, it only decreases the upkeep of the houses, which means that you can build more houses while consuming the same amount of food and power. So for example, if you have houses enough to house 200 people, you can build a few more houses to house 40 extra people. It's the same cost, but I think it is still way less important than this one, because early on you don't, first of all, you don't have that many people. The second of all, you still have to build the houses, which means that you need to spend all the resources and all that to get that. So I don't think it's worth it in the beginning to rush this house tree. It is worth it at the end, but I think the gathering tree takes priority. So usually what I do is I go for automation 1, get the house 1, automation 4, house 2, then get the gathering tree to maximum. That's what the build I usually do, and later on I focus on the survival, but in the beginning I do that. So that's explanation for all the materials. So you have your fuel to take off. We have the 3 basic materials: flux, electricity, food, and people. I guess we can say 4, but people is like a bit not exactly the material. And then you have this space management with time management aspect, where you build this city. And I should explain about exploration. So exploration is normally you cannot build it, but this race gives it for free in the beginning. This is a racer trait, because this race is this remnant seeker is specialized in exploration. In return for having a weaker tower, they have a lot weaker towers. And expedition letter, you can select expedition, and you have a list of expedition, and it requires worker to send on expedition. It costs some materials to send them on exploration, but they give some crates when they come back from it. And you can see there are different type of crates. So there is this normal crate. This is the research crate 1. This is the normal type of crate. Equipment crate that contains equipments. The rare resource crates that has rare resources, which means they can also contain fuel. I think there are other stuff than fuel, but I think fuel is the most important one, and I think they have more chance for the more expensive material. So they're like pretty much the better version of the resource crate. There is the module crate. So modules are stuff that you can put like in certain buildings. Like I think on this one as well. Once you upgrade those buildings, you can get the module. Not yet. Oh, okay. So for example, if you upgrade it to level 2, it gives production speed, upkeep, workup, and module slot +1. Actually, one thing to note is that it costs 20 to upgrade the wood warper, 20 wood, and a lot of flux, but it only increases your efficiency by 50%. It is not like it costs less worker, but because it also increases your upkeep and worker by +40 and 50%. So it might feel like it's not worth upgrading those buildings compared to just building extra ones. Because like if you build extra one, it only costs 72 flux. It doesn't even cost any bloodwood planks. But if you upgraded this one, it's only 50% more efficient. So you need to upgrade 2 of them to reach the same amount of efficiency as one building here. So it might look like it is not worth it, but it is actually worth it. The reason why it's worth it is because this game is all about space management. This area is the only area you should be building. Like in the end, like in the every expensive building, you just don't want to build them outside, because that's the waste of your building. Like if you build outside and you cannot carry with you, then that's just simply wasted. So that's why it is important to upgrade those from your base. Well, in the early game, you can still build those and abandon later on, because the buildings are super cheap, so you don't really lose much from doing that. But later on, especially, upgrading is super important. I saw somebody mentioning this is like a kind of loop trap to upgrade a building, because it's way more expensive to upgrade a building than building a new one. But it's really not. It's like just the space management aspect. You want those buildings to be in here. And okay, oh yeah, I didn't explain the weight. So each building also has a weight. This building has 3 weight. This building has 5 weight. And this platform can carry only a certain amount of weight. You can increase this weight limit by building the floating device. You can research this floating device, and to build this you need 5 starwood, so you need to craft the starwood with a new recipe, and it's pretty expensive. It's pretty 50 stones and 150 flux, and once you build it, it increases to carry capacity by I think 25, and then you can further upgrading the balloon, and you can build multiple balloons and all that. But yeah, having more. So if you upgrade the building, the weight still stays the same, But if you build a new one, then it adds up onto the weight, and by adding up to the weight, it requires to build more floating balloon. And if you build more balloon, not only is it expensive to build, but the balloon itself also consumes flux, electricity, and that means that you need to build more flux pad, you need to build more energy facility, and yeah, that's why it's just better to like upgrade those buildings. It's like it looks expensive, but upgrading is worth it. So I think I've explained pretty much everything I needed to explain. And so we are at the expedition. So those are the modules. So those module, when you upgrade this building, you get the module slot, for example, here, and you can put the module. It has all various effects. Some module like increases like the building's ability. Some modules decreases the upkeep, the maintenance cost here, and stuff like that. So they're pretty useful to have, but sometimes you don't get like any excellent module. And then you have some like the Dream Tech crate, but we don't have it here. And here, this one's the most important way. It looks shitty. It looks like old ragged and all that, but this is the most important crate. It's a technology crate. It may contain research knowledge, blueprint, recipe, and other technically related loot. The blueprints are useful, but that's not the reason why it is the most important. It's because it contains an item called Delinker. I wanna show actually where I want to show the delinker, so I'm going to a different save. Where is the delinker? Because it is the core part of the strategy, so I'd like to show it. So let's see. I'll save. I think this save should have some delinkers, definitely. This is the save that I played for a long time. No, this is like the end game save. So the linker is this item, a powerful device that weakens the link to the dream realm. Use this to lower the global infestation level by 1. So we have here 8 global infestation level. As we have explained earlier, the global infestation level is the time limit of your game. And if you use this one, you can right click and use this to it becomes 13, and the level becomes 7. I don't know why it didn't become 8. I think it's just because it was at like the peak of the 8, so like as soon as I lowered it, it went back up because it was at like at the maximum level. So whenever you use this one, it becomes 1 less. So now it's 6, and which means that like since this global infection level is the time limit of your progress, it means that if you manage to get this one, it extends your time limit, and if you can get enough of this one, it actually completely removes the time limit if you can just acquire an infinite amount of them. And the exploration I mentioned earlier is the key to that, and that is the core strategy for the remnant seekers, because the exploration, whenever the tech crates have a chance of giving you those delinkers from level 2 expedition, from the 2 skull expedition. The 1 skull expedition doesn't give anything, but the 2 skull can give those delinkers. One problem is that they also give a lot of different recipes, but the recipes are only one time only, and once you empty all the recipes from the loot pool, you have actually a pretty high chance of getting a delinker. You have like 25% chance of getting a delinker, and once you can achieve that point, you can actually grab an infinite amount of delinker as a remnant seeker, and pretty much remove the time limit, so you are pretty much guaranteed to beat the game as long as you play safely. This is why we are playing Remnant Seeker, this run, because it has an expedition speed, which means that you can do more expeditions, which means more chance of getting the delinker. Expedition option, fuel cost minus, so we can jump between the maps more easily. And this fact that they're specialized with expedition allows you to farm the delinker and stays infinitely on the lower difficulty map. The other races don't have those bonuses. For example, beavers. Beavers are an excellent race, but they don't have the expedition bonuses. And this strat should not work too well with beavers, or not just simply not work at all. There are actually 2 different ways to achieve to beat the Dream Plague difficulty. So one way is the what we are gonna do this one, where we play as Remnant Seeker and try to get as many delinkers as possible. The other way is I think it is what I did when I played with Beavers before. It is to clad yourself, because this global infestation level doesn't increase infinitely. The 8 is the maximum level, and as we explained before, you can still get like 1 level lower global infestation level when you try to jump on the map. So actually you can stay on the level 7 maximum, which starts, I think 7 starts at 30 threat level. And because if you say that you stay there for like until you get threat level 35, so if you can jump before you get to 35 every single time, then as long as you can deal with 35 threat wave, then you're set for the game. Like you can stall there infinitely, because if you can defeat the level 35 wave, that means that you can like survive infinitely until you have time to like progress everything else. So that's why the other strategy than the Remnant Seeker strategy, where you try to get as many delinkers as possible, is to focus on getting enough towers. Just get a minimum amount of buildings in the inside to make the materials required to build the towers outside. I think 2 layers of towers are enough, and you just clad in 2 layers of tower and just survive like that until you can build the other facilities. So this one as well, like in the beginning it was a small town, and we surrounded ourselves with a tower and survived for a while before we could build everything else. And that is the other strategy. So I think we have 2 different strategies to beat the Dream Plague difficulty, and that is only the Dream Plague difficulty, because other difficulties are like a lot easier, to be honest. So I will explain the difficulty option now, since I've explained everything else. So you have a bunch of modifier. Iron Man is the one where you can save or not. So if you are going to Dream Plague of efficiency, you're gonna have Iron Man on. So you're not gonna be able to say. I'm gonna lower the volume here. Alright. So Iron Man on for the Dream Plague, which means that if you die, then you're dead. Like you cannot load, the save file gets destroyed. You cannot like load to a previous save. Enemy number is already hard in the challenge difficulty. So no, actually it's not. Wait. Okay, so Iron on, and the enemy number is 50% more enemy number. Is not actually the biggest problem of the. Actually, I'll compare it to the hard mode, because the hard mode, I think I beat it on my first attempt. So the first run I did was on the economic challenge. The second run I did was hard. The third one was Dream Plague. I think I beat my hard mode on the first attempt. It's actually not that hard. Even though the Iron Man is on, the hard mode is actually not that hard. Because, well, the enemy number plus 15 is actually not that big of a deal. The combat difficulty is also not that big of a deal. It's kind of annoying because you get less health, the enemies are stronger, and there's more enemy. But this ultimately not that big of a deal. Economy though is the annoying part. So compared to the hard mode where we have 0-0, you get 30% more build cost, 30% more build upgrade cost, and minus 30% harvesting speed. The harvesting speed is not as bad as it sounds, because it only affects the harvester. It doesn't affect the refiners. So you can just harvest more, and it's just like a few more people to work on that, and that's it. But the build cost and the build upgrade cost means that you have to produce 30% more material to build pretty much anything. Which means that your progress is just 30% slower. So this is one hard challenge here. The resource node that gives 0 to 30 is honestly not that big of a deal, because it just means that you gotta change the resource node after a while. In the beginning it's kind of annoying because you have to connect the road all the time, but later on you're gonna see that it's not annoying, because you get like some automatic harvester and all that. This is not that big of a deal. Threat increasing rate. this is not the big deal neither, because it's not the global infestation. It's the threat you get on that map only, and it's like pretty much same as the enemy number at this rate, because you just the enemies just get stronger faster, and you have to like stay away from that map like faster, or you just build more defenses. That's the same. I mean, it's harder, but it's not that big of a deal. The wandering enemy is the one added on the patch before, like a few months ago, and it is already enabled in hard mode, but yeah, it's better to have it enabled as a mechanic. The global infestation. Okay, so this is the hardest mechanic. This is the mechanic that makes it the hardest for the for the Dream Plague. So the hard mode has challenging, which is 0. The Dream Plague mode has hard, which is plus 50%, and this is 50% faster global infestation rate. And as we said earlier, the global infestation rate is what decides the time limit of the game. So you have like 50% less time limit on your game. Like, actually, if you play Dream Plague and only disable the global infestation, it becomes a lot easier. It becomes 50% easier because you have 50% more time to do everything. So even if you mess up or anything else, like, you're still fine because you have 50% more time. But this one, like, seriously, really makes it difficult. And okay, so the next one, the Overseer tool. It is enabled at hard mode, but at Dream Plague, it is disabled. The Overseer tool is a pretty powerful tool. It allows to free camera movement, speed control, and active pause. So you can pause during the game and move it somewhere else, but if you disable it, you can't. Actually, it feels like a completely different game in the beginning if you play with it disabled for the first time, and it means that you have to go back to your base constantly. You cannot pause to like plan your building, so you have to build like all your buildings like pretty much instantly in the beginning at least, and you kind of like have to have everything planned since the time limit is so tight. So this is one thing that also makes like really difficult it's like a huge difficult jump from hard mode to Dream Plague. So those are 3: the global infestation, Overseer tool, and the economy. The economy makes it 30% harder. Global infestation makes 50% harder. The Overseer also makes pretty hard. So with all those combined, it's not an overstatement to say that it's more than 2 times harder. And it's not just 2 times harder, because you have to fit in the same amount of progress in less than 2 times less time. That is extremely hard. That's why the Dream Plague difficulty, I find it like really hard. And there are the 2 strategies that I found to beat this mode. So one is to use one of the strategies to use this Remnant Seeker and do the expedition constantly. I think that's the most easiest strategy to run, because we don't really care about anything. We don't really need to care about anything. Just focus on surviving while doing the expedition, and I think that is the easiest strat. And the other strategy is to build and manage to get enough defense before you reach the final level of infestation. And that is just a race against the time during your entire playthrough. And you also have to be kind of lucky, because you can still get the linker even if you don't do the expedition. And I think you have to get like at least like 1 or 2 if you wanna beat the game in time. So that is the more difficult way. We are gonna do the Remnant Seeker way this run, and yeah, that is it for the explanation. I did this separate explanation because I fear that I will not be able to explain the game while playing it. So yeah, so see you next time.